We'll start this evening with an invocation, which I'll give, and follow that, Commissioner Bullock will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll go ahead and give that invocation now. Our Father in heaven, as we come before Thee in prayer this evening at the beginning of our city meeting, our planning commission meeting today, we're thankful for the safety that Thou has watched over each of us to be here today. We're thankful for the blessings that we have to live in the place that we do. Please watch over those that could not be here this evening and for their health and their safety, and bless them with the things that they stand in need of to get their lives back on track and back to normal. Grateful for the opportunity to be here this evening and discuss things relevant and pertinent to the city. Please have Thy Spirit over our meeting, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Commissioner Bullock.
Please stand.
The first item on our agenda this evening will be to approve the agenda, and I look for a motion if there are no changes for January 5th, 2022 agenda.
This year, I'd propose that we approve the minutes for this evening's, agenda for this evening's meeting.
This is Bullock. I'll second.
I've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Agenda is set and approved for this evening, the items that we have. Item number 3, the approval of the minutes. Here we go, Sheila, you jumped ahead, but here we go. The minutes for the approval for December 15th, 2021 that Kathy sent out to us. If you have any changes that were not noted, please let us know at this time. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion.
As Commissioner Musso, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for December 15th, 2021 as constituted.
This year, I second.
All right, I've got a first and I've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Commissioner Tupou with Commissioner Anderson here, obviously, this evening. Look forward to having you vote with everything. Appreciate that. Item number 4 on the agenda is a declaration from any of the commissioners for any abstention or need for any, or conflicts, a need for an abstention. I have none.
I have none.
None? Okay. Item number 5, this is our first item on the agenda, 5A. This is a subdivision name change. This is for consideration and recommendation to the City Council, a subdivision name change from Desert Ridge Phase 1A and 1B to Desert Ridge Townhomes Phase 1A and 1B, located approximately Bella Vista Drive and Desert Cactus Drive. The applicant is Sunwood Homes of Southern Utah, Brett Howcroft. Turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, Commissioner. The applicant is requesting approval of a revised final plat for the Desert Ridge Phase 1A and 1B subdivision located at approximately Bella Vista Drive and Desert Cactus Drive. The applicant is asking to change the name of the subdivision Desert Ridge Phase 1A and 1B to Desert Ridge Townhomes Phase 1A and 1B. So just inserting the word townhomes into that. No other revisions are being made at this time. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval for the final plat revision, amending the name of the subdivision to Desert Ridge Phase 1A and 1B subdivision onto the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions in your report. And I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Commissioners, I'll open the floor for any questions that you have for staff.
Seems pretty simple if it's just a name change.
Why is it a name change? Why is that big of a deal?
Well, they took it to the county and it's already taken by another subdivision in St. George, so they try not to duplicate up
Oh, that makes
names
sense.
is what it, yeah, it is. So usually we try to catch those way at the beginning when they start thinking about doing it, but that was kind of overlooked, or one came in and got recorded underneath that, so we just had to come back and do that.
Drew, I know we've seen this thing about 3 or 4 times, but is there any room in between each one of these townhomes? Or are they all, is there
There
20
isn't.
of them in
There's-
a row?
There's gaps in there.
Is
They're-
there?
They're
Okay.
not joined together like that. That's just
That's just
the
the
ownership.
plat.
That's just the
Yeah.
plat part.
Okay.
It's the ownership, but the buildings themselves will be in triplexes.
Okay.
While you're thinking of additional questions, commissioners, if any, I'm going to open this up for public comment section on this item. Is there anybody here in the chamber that would like to speak to this item? All right, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing here.
Ms. Shield, I make a motion that we close this public hearing.
Musso, I second.
Got a first and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Back to you, commissioners, if you have any additional questions for staff or the applicant. And if not, I'll look for a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
Ms. Shield, I'd make a motion that we recommend and an approval for the final plat revision, amending the name of the subdivision for the Desert Ridge Phase 1A and 1B subdivision, and send that forward to City Council for their approval. With the 3 findings and 5 conditions.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Shield. I've got a second by Commissioner Anderson. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Shield,
Aye.
Bullock,
Aye.
Musso.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion passes, and we'll send that to City Council with our recommendation for approval. Item number 6A, this is also a public hearing. It's a plat amendment. It's a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to the City Council for the plat amendment for Eagle Summit Estates located approximately Angels Landing Drive. The purpose of the amendment is to vacate the open space parcel from the southeast corner of the original plan. The applicant is Jay Keltner. I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, commissioners. The reason for this amendment is to vacate the open space highlighted there on the screen, and also the common area adjacent to lots 9, 10, and 16. The common area was originally intended to be used as a drainage easement for the subdivision to the north and west, but is no longer needed at this time. Staff has reviewed the proposed amended final plat and finds it conforms to the original PUD zoning of this development. Subdivision also remains in compliance with the subdivision ordinances of the city. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the amended final plat for the Eagle Summit Estates amended subdivision onto the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following original conditions. And we're happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right, commissioners, I'll open the floor for questions that you might have. Eldon, one of the questions I had has to do with the common area, that little landscape strip there, or the easement. Did I understand that correctly, that the open space that's there, that triangle piece, if you will, is going to be given to those lots on the left-hand side of it, like 43, 44, 45, and 46? Is that correct, or is that going to stay open space?
No, yeah, let me clear that up. So we've got two areas here. We've got open space, which is that bigger area on the bottom.
Right.
And we're gonna vacate that. They're proposing to vacate that out of the subdivision.
I'm sorry, I'm getting things from 3 years. This is what I'm talking about here. Is that anything at all tonight right here?
Yes, that is.
So this open space that's up there, what happens to that?
It will be given to the adjoining neighbors.
It will be, okay, perfect.
Yep.
Because when I was looking at that, 9 and 10 will be given that easement, correct? Where they can put a fence there because it looked like it was staked out for one. Is that
Correct, yeah, they'll split it.
perfect? That's the only thing I want to know is what happens to that area up there in the future.
Can I clarify? So when you're saying open space, we're not talking about the open space of Westgate Hills right above it. We're talking about the easement right here.
It's the
Correct.
highlighted yellow area.
Yes. You said,
Correct.
you said open space and pointed to Westgate Hills. I'm
But if
just
that
making sure
easement
that's
is
not it.
taken away, how would anybody access that open space is what I'm saying. If that easement turns into a fence between 9 and 10, nobody's going to be able to. No, I understand that, but I just wanted to know if we're going to end up, when all this community is built out, both communities, if we're going to have a pizza slice in the middle of there that's. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Does it give, well, it's a different community, so it doesn't matter.
Commissioners, if I may, I've been working on this vacation of this drainage easement for some time.
Mhm.
The lots 9 and 10 have been dropped considerably from their original. It's virtually a sheer wall. And lot 16 is already built and built across the drainage easement. It's no longer functioning as a drainage
Okay.
easement, so there's no real, you can't access it from that drainage easement up on top to that open area.
There's something that came up in a conversation I was having recently that made me want to know. And I know that it's steep there. I think, as an example, I was looking at lot 6 that I think Bangeter has, and you can see how it starts to graduate up and it comes down. When this is given to lot 43, 44, 45, 46, there's no possible way they could build anything on it, ultimately, is what I'm asking. Because somebody approached me about an area up in here that had a similar piece in their backyard that they wanted to put something on, like a casita, lifted up by a crane and set it down because they could. I know this is super steep, but I just want to make sure that that will not be the case there. And I know that this isn't the subdivision, but that's the basis of my question is really I want to know what happens to that.
Yeah, that open space that you see there with the vegetation on it and stuff, that is not being vacated. That is being retained by the HOA as open space.
Okay.
So it's just that little strip that you see.
Okay. That's okay.
That is.
In our
that is
notes,
all
when
that
it
was-
said that it's given to the adjacent homeowners, we're just referring to 9, 10, and 16.
9, 10, and 16, correct.
All right. Perfect.
So on the map that we got, it says proposed vacated area. Isn't that?
Yeah, there's 2 parts. This one here is the drainage easement that we're vacating, and then down in the lower right-hand corner, that's the other area down there that's being vacated as open space.
And do we know what's going to happen with that other area?
Well, that's,
Is that going to the homeowners?
That's why I
that
wanted
own it
to
as
bring
well?
mine up because I don't expect mine is the big topic of conversation tonight. So back down to the bottom part.
you put the aerial up on that.
I totally understand.
Hi, Mark Rains, High Point Engineering. My client, the intent with that parcel is just return it back into a parcel. He got approached by the neighboring parcel to maybe acquire that for their personal use. I don't know what the intent on it is, but that parcel that we're talking about sits way lower. It sits off the cliff from everything else. And originally we put it as open space because there was only one parcel that had access to it. And at the time he didn't want to do anything with it. So we just put it in open space. But since then my client's been approached for the use of this parcel. So that's the only intent that I know of.
That's the Wild West. I drove up there today and holy smokes. You got tunnels in the hill. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that parcel, yeah.
I thought, am I in St. George or Washington?
my understanding is there's a potential buyer that's going to buy both parcels. And it has something to do with storing wine, or that's as much
I guess
information
that's
as I
what them
have.
tunnels are for, huh?
So,
All right, thanks. Drew, if something like that is proposed in the future, do we have a chance to see that again and vote whether or not that's something we want to do? Like, whatever happens this evening and we send it to city council and if they approve this, do we still get to have any say or look at what this turns into in the future?
And we're just trying to take everything we can away from you guys, so you
Yeah.
no, let me just kind of show you. I'm just going to pull up the zoning map so you can.
By the way, I also was out there today, so I understand exactly what this area is. I didn't want anyone to get confused with why I was asking about this other area. Totally separate. I understand that, fully aware of what's here.
Yeah, to use that for anything, you can see it's zoned open space. And so even parking lots have to get a zone change because that's not a permitted use or a conditional use, so it would, if it does end up going to this property that's in the red, they'll have to get a zone change of some sort, and it'll come back in a public hearing to you folks and city council, so.
Okay.
What's the red zone?
C3.
C3. Yep.
This is Commissioner Anderson. Yeah, and looking at this, I mean, it's, Mark Raines is correct. This is a long way down the hill. Like it's past the no boundary zone. You can see the no build zone, and then you've got the hillside, protection zone. It's below all that. It's like way in the bottom. So it's not going to affect anybody's views or open space or anything like that. It's way out of sight at the very bottom.
A lot of containers down there. Yeah. So it's,
Commissioners, any other questions for staff?
That's his business.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is open this up to the public hearing. I would assume that some people here would like to make a comment this evening. We ask you to try to keep your comments to 3 minutes or so. And when you come to the microphone, if you could state your name for the record and please speak as clearly as you can. So Kathy, who is recording and taking notes in the other room, will be able to make out what you're saying. So whoever would like to speak, if you'd please come forward to the mic.
Thank you. My name is Mark Wooten, and I'm a resident of the Canyon Breeze RV Park, which is that lower park. There's Canyon Cove sits above us. I've got 3 basic questions, and they're all short. Would that be okay if I keep
Absolutely.
it brief?
I won't answer them, but we will get you an answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think one of them was answered already, and it concerns the area that you're marking right there now, the triangular area that is you want to annexing it, I guess. There is a catch basin in there, from what I understand, for water drainage from up above. If I'm incorrect in that, let me know, but I believe that that's currently where the water drainage is going. And therefore, I guess that's probably why they don't need the drainage up at the top. Am I correct with that, or? If I'm not correct, let me know. Well, the catch basin is, I can't see it now, but
There's a catch basin. Yeah.
you see where the red X's are in there, where they've marked the catch basin, I believe, is in that area. Anyway, that's kind of a sideline, because there is quite a bit of water coming off of there.
Right there, Drew. This is the catch basin right here. That whole area.
Well, not per se.
Yeah, there might be another one there. I'm just saying that's the big
Where
one.
my arrow is, that's detention.
Yeah, that's one, and then it drains
Then it
down.
feeds down. a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit.
This area right here.
Okay. So there isn't one then in that Xed area, in that red area?
Not that I'm aware, at least not the main one. The big one that where all the water.
Yeah.
comes up there.
Okay. So is that the reason? Well, let me move on then, so because I don't know. So does vacating that parcel, does that mean that the current owner, and this is the question I think was already answered, sell it as a separate parcel, which obviously he can because he's already got apparently an offer or 2 on it. if it's currently zoned, or not even zoned that, but if it's currently listed as open space, are there specific rules associated with the development of that parcel to take it out of open space and make it currently, which is zoned as a PUD, which means they can build houses in there if they wanted to?
It's not zoned anything right now. It's open space.
This space, it's this land they didn't do anything with, and vacating it takes it out of Eagle Summit Estates.
Okay, so then the PUD development must be
Approved and all that.
The brown's a PUD.
okay, so that's down in the triangular area then. That's part of that parcel then, correct?
That parcel has no zoning, right?
Well,
Am I
it
correct?
is zoned, it's
Zoned
zoned
open
open space. I mean, but technically, yeah, there's no, the only structures you can put in there are public utilities.
Oh, okay.
Or you can put, I mean, right now, under the current zoning, doesn't mean
Right.
they can't come in and ask for a change.
Okay,
And that's probably what will happen if this does exchange hands. I would guess that everybody in here got a letter on this, is gonna get a letter on that.
right, okay,
Okay, or even actually more so, people will get letters on that for a zone change that they'll try to turn it to something else to make it usable.
so if they wanted to, for example, if the person that's interested, I actually spoke to the person that was interested, I believe, in the property, and the theory being, depending on soil content, water availability, they could potentially zone it as agricultural and plant grapes in there.
Well, that would take another process. I'm gonna just show you what, right now, but yeah, I mean, is it a viable thing? Yes, I could say that it's an option that somebody could apply for.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to say it. But right now, the only thing we would entertain for a zone change is either residential 10,000 square foot or residential 12,000, because it's in the low density designation. That's the only applications. Now, they could apply for a PUD, which we would allow anybody to do anywhere in the city. And more than likely, I think that's what we'll probably see for anybody. If who ends up with that, it'll probably be made part of a PUD, I think, because it'll be easier for them and just the process that way. But
So if it remains as a PUD, then they could put with it certain square footage homes in there.
they could. I'm not going to say they couldn't, but that is an option or a possibility. Yeah.
So I guess the last question I would have then is, so accessibility then currently, lost, I don't know where I'm at now in terms of, could you push it back up to where the two, I guess that's the park right there, right? Currently, the only access would be from over to the left-hand side, coming down over the hill from where the existing cave is. That would be the only access, and I believe that's owned by somebody else, so they would have to, otherwise, they would have to try to create an easement through one of the two parks.
Well, that would be difficult in itself because your subdivision has private streets in it.
Right,
And we don't allow people to go from a public street through a private street area. They'd have to incorporate it either into one of you two developments, which I don't see happening. Knowing the folks that live in both of them
yeah,
and the way they run, I can't see either one of them being a thumbs up on that right now,
yeah.
without a lot of discussion
Right, so
with the
accessibility
residents.
then would be just over the hill.
It's going to be on Redledge Road more than
Yeah.
likely, and it'll probably come from here through this property somehow
Okay,
that way.
okay. Thanks.
Stick around. If we didn't answer your questions when we get to the end, just let me know.
Okay.
Want to make sure you get them answered.
Good enough, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. By the way, we did receive some comments that we received and had a chance to review before this meeting. Michael, Robin, Bruce, Jarrett, all received comments on this item. Anybody else would like to come up and speak to this? Please do so, and remember to state your name. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it for the opportunity. I also commented online, so my comments are included there, but I thought it's worth coming in as well and just expressing some other concerns and questions I had. So
What was your name? I'm sorry.
Michael McKinley, sorry, or Mike McKinley. I live on one of those ridgeline properties that overlook that, and it does impact my view. My backyard looks right down on that area and is very visible from my backyard. So if I'm in my backyard using my property, enjoying it, I do look down directly on that property. The other thing, interestingly enough, on the water drainage, while it agreed in our community, we have a very specific catch basin that has been developed and part of the plan. The natural terrain there, and if you've been out there and looked at it, a lot of it just drains right down into that area. So I can imagine the other adjoining communities would have some concerns about drainage as well. But because of that cliffside and the development on it, I do worry about any future development there as well and how they would handle drainage and its impact on that cliffside. In addition, I was under the impression as a homeowner buying a property there that it was part of the development and it was to remain open space and not be developed. I have some real concerns about the long-term use of that property and how it would affect sort of the natural looking space there, affect noise, views, etc. It's, why we live in communities in this southern Utah area is the natural beauty, and this land, the way it is just naturally sitting, I can't imagine a use there that wouldn't adversely affect any of those three adjoining communities that abut up to that space or adjacent to that space. There's a lot of natural wildlife there, but the terrain itself is very very rugged and really is kind of locked in by those communities. I get the adjacent properties could create access to it, but anything, whether it was rezoned for commercial or retail or, I've heard lots of rumors about potential development there. And I just can't imagine that any of these communities wouldn't be adversely affected by any potential development of that land. And so again, as a homeowner, I worry about home values, of course. I worry about enjoyment and nuisances with additional noise or view impacts to views. So that is my main concern as a homeowner in that community.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
If you don't mind, let me just ask a question. If somebody, because we get this all the time. I hear everything you can imagine come from the pulpit.
I'm sure.
Usually everybody says, well, I don't want anything there, but it would be great if we had a park there. So you guys don't even want a park there.
Actually, no, I wouldn't.
Honestly, I just don't want to ask everybody, because that's the thing we always hear. Well, put a park there. Everybody wants a park. But it's funny, I don't want a park. This is a first, I think.
I mean, I would prefer it to remain natural and open space that reflects the terrain in the area as well as access for wildlife. Any potential impact there, I can imagine if I live right down at that level, the noise from people accessing and using that area could be problematic. The volume of noise that travels up through that canyon is not immaterial. We already hear enough of the noise because of the location, but adding to that will only, I think, potentially be a noise nuisance to the community and the residents that live there. So if there is a winery and if that was developed as a picnic area or a yard for people to relax, there's going to be people out there. And who knows if they pump music in there, they're relaxing, talking, large parties, whatever it might be, any of those uses, again, I just can't imagine it not adversely affecting the enjoyment of the property as it exists today by those communities that surround it.
Okay, scratch my
Does that
head.
answer your?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
So just a question, Drew, that still it's private, even though it's open space, which just means it's zoned open space, it's private property.
Right. If the HOA owned it,
Doesn't belong to the HOA,
if
it's
the HOA
private
owned
property,
it,
correct?
it'd be a different story, on that.
That's just what I wanted to
So
clarify.
it is owned
It is
individually.
private property.
It is private property.
And-
So, yeah.
Which means
Can I
they have the right to develop it as much as someone does to build a house on their lot.
I had a question though on that front. What's was confusing, it was part of the original plot plan and designated open space. So part of the development and I assume part of the plan to remain in the development, that's changing. So as a homeowner, again, those expectations have been sort of set. When you look at the development, you look at the plot plan, you see the open space, it's, even though not owned, which I wasn't aware, but became aware, not owned by the HOA or by the community, it was designated and planned as part of that community. And so again, as a homeowner, I'm adversely affected by something that looked like to be part of our community and part of the plan, and now is being changed. So I get the implications there, but I just wanted to make sure, that's not the expectation I think a lot of the homeowners had that lived along that ridgeline.
Well, again, it was said in the report that the reason they couldn't do it is because they could not get access to it, or else it would have been developed. Because at the time they called all the adjoining properties and nobody wanted to give them anything. So they still want to do their development. So that's part of the reason it was left that way. And left it with the owner. Yeah. And it did end up in your HOA.
Yeah, that's helpful. I didn't have that background or context as a homeowner coming in the last year. So,
But
Mike, I'm curious, when you went through the process to build the land or buy the land and build your home, you probably obviously met with a real estate agent, but did you meet with the developer himself? Like, do you know?
no. So in my case, I bought a home that was built by a builder who bought the land. So it was a spec home. And just what I received in terms of documentation, paperwork, and just conversations with the realtor and the builder, I was operating under certain assumptions based on looking at that documentation and the conversations I had. So yeah, I did not speak with the developer that
I was
actually created the
curious.
community.
Yeah, I was curious because of the homeowners up there. That obviously that's a big part of of your view and what you see. And I was curious if what the details of conversations were with any of you at any time.
Yeah, I unfortunately came later in the last, I moved a year ago here to that particular property. So that's why I don't have that early context. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
yeah, I need to clarify before we move on, not for you, just for everybody, but if it stays open space, they could put a garden area in there with a walking path without a zone change. That's a permitted use in open space. But if they wanted to use it for a parking area or, things like that, but if it left that way and, people could still walk on it, we allow for recreation, gardening, things like that. So if that was the intent that they just wanted to make it a nice walking path with maybe a few benches just for ambience of the area, that wouldn't have to come before anybody. It'd just be a permitted use because the zoning allows for, like I say, gardening and recreation, kind of open space without any buildings. So they could do that, just getting it and.
So Drew, I have one quick question. So does this have its own separate tax ID number currently?
Yes, you can pull it up. It's got it.
And is that W-EASU-open-A? Really? I have never seen something like that where it says open.
Yeah, there you go. That's an
Parcel.
ID number right there. So it stands for Eagle Summit, and it's just open is the lot. That's like its identifier, open
Like
A.
one, yeah.
And then I think the other one might be open B.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Please say your name. Thank you.
Jarrett Mead. I'm a resident of Eagle Summit Estates as well. I'm the acting president of the HOA, and also have just a few concerns about the open space, the reasoning for vacating it. Why is it being vacated, assuming it's probably going to be sold? The use of it as well, just concerned about that. Just want to know, obviously, the future buyer, what they're planning on doing, what it's zoned for. Also, I think the county has that as landlocked. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does anybody understand or can explain what that means as landlocked? Does that mean nobody can do anything with it? What exactly
no, it
does
just
that mean?
means there's currently no legal access to the property.
Okay.
But that can change in a heartbeat. You pay someone enough, they'll give you access through their property and sell you a strip.
Right.
That can change in a 24-hour period for the right dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of society we live in, that people can get. It's just right now there is no recorded legal access to that property.
Okay.
That's what he was referring to a minute ago, where he said the only likely way they could get access is if this
Just
property
go through that
owner
property.
gave them legal access.
Okay. Yeah. That's all the questions I have.
Thanks, Jarrett.
I'm here representing Canyon Breeze. I'm Jay Hardy.
A little closer to the mic pull the mic closer to your mouth.
I represent Canyon Breeze, Jay Hardy, and we're concerned. Last summer fall we had some big flash floods or high rains, and Canyon Breeze is open fenced from the red up, and a lot of water came down and washed the gravel away from the fence between us. It's a cinder block fence, and we're in the process of having to repair that as we're speaking here now. And we need to make sure that catch basin, that drains a lot of this property to the south off of there. And if they develop that would put a lot of pressure on the water that comes off of there. That's one concern. The other concern, we think that there could be some development to the west of us up on top of the bluff. Is that called Eagle Landing?
Eagle Summit.
And it wouldn't take anything for them to go to the west of us. Is that the Kimball property maybe? Is that, or?
Well, that's the piece, the only piece west of you is one we have highlighted in red.
Yes, but where our fence goes to the west, there's a possibility you could use the Red Lodge Road and go across from Red Lodge into that property, or you can build a dugway and go up on top and develop it also.
Right.
And we think that's possibly what's going to happen here. I'm not sure. But we just want to make sure that if they use that road, Red Lodge Road, ledge, right now that's a real mess with the truckers we got in there. And to get on and off of where we get up into our property, that's always packed up with trucks. We got 3 truckers companies that's in there, and you're jammed up already, and you're probably going to put some more development behind it. We're concerned. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, look for a motion at this time to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Shill second.
I've got a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is closed at this time. I'll open the floor back up to commissioners for questions for staff or the applicant, if the applicant's here, or a representative of the applicant.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I think we answered all the questions that everybody had, other than, I guess, one question I believe that Mike had asked was with regard to the hillside, area and so forth. All of this area is below the hillside restriction zone. It doesn't have any of the hillside protection and restriction zone. It doesn't have any of the non-buildable or no build zone. This is all down below it. And so it wouldn't impact any of that area. And then I guess to answer some of the drainage things is that if they did develop something, they would have to put together a stormwater plan that dealt with rainwater or stormwater and so forth, which would likely be better than what it currently is in its natural state if they did something with it. So,
Drew, I'm not seeing how big this parcel is, the one that we're talking about, the triangular piece at the bottom. How big is that?
It's 3.3 acres.
And it's pretty rough. I mean, if somebody had to come in there, they'd have to mass grade it and do everything else to get it so it would be viable. Well, I'm thinking from a highest and best use. Is it economically viable? Is it physically possible to do anything with it? And the economic viability of only a 3-acre parcel. I'd be hard pressed to sit there and put homes on it, because it would cost a small fortune to put homes on it, because Corey, you know more than any of us about building something out like that. It'd be real expensive, right? Even if they were park models such as Canyon Breeze or small detached homes like Canyon Cove. I mean, it would be.
Yeah, I don't see it going into homes. But for the right price, you can do anything. But I like the idea of growing grapes there. I think that's a pretty neat idea.
I think that's far-fetched.
It could be far-fetched,
but again, at the end of the day, if someone's willing to pay him money for the lot, then that's his highest and best use. It's whatever they're willing to pay him for it. Because right now it's worth zero to him, and if somebody wants to pay him for it, that's what it's worth, and they can decide what they want to do with it. if it falls within
Then they come back to
code
us.
and
and-
guidelines, yeah.
Going back to the very beginning, Drew, when this was set up from the developer, I kind of look at this as a developer, I don't want to say changed his mind, but got to the end of the development, had a piece left sitting there, didn't end up using it for a basin like I think it was initially expected to be. Said, hey, I'm going to sell this off. Is that somewhat correct? That's really what's happening, right?
Correct. He could sell it off today. It's just whoever gets it
What are they
has
gonna do
has
with it?
the, you know, has to deal with all of the HOA, the CCNRs and everything, and may not even want to put a home on it. So they're just wanting to take it out. I think they do have someone who's offered it as an adjoining property that wants to, and then we'll wait to see what they're going to do with it. They'll have to follow whatever the zoning is. And if they can't, they'll have to apply for zone change. And that's always a gamble, you know, with anybody. I tell you, I'd never give anybody better than 50-50 odds, even when I know it may be a 90-10, not in your favor, but I'll still always give them a best shot of 50-50, because it just depends on what they bring, and we can't base all of our decisions on the unknown. So they're just asking to take this piece out of the subdivision. Does the subdivision benefit from it? Well, probably in one respect, that right now they think, well, nothing can go on there because you can't get access to it. You know, so that's the only benefit it probably carries right now, is they think that nothing can go on it. But if all of a sudden access comes available, well, then the story changes. And can it be used for something? Could it be used for a walking path with, you know, or a little park area for some, whatever the other parcels are going to be developed as, or, you know, whatever it is going to be a tough piece, but it would be for a walking area, just a peaceful, you know, planted some shrubs or left it in maybe in its natural state and just added a little chat path that walked around, and, you know, but it was part of something, whatever is going to the south there. We don't know that right now. So.
All right.
If the other solution, if the homeowners want it as open space in the HOA, they can all get together and they can buy it from him. It's private property, and they could buy it and designate it as HOA open space. And that's totally feasible. And then they can do whatever they want with it.
For me personally, my thoughts on it is, and going out there and seeing it, and from the top and bottom, I personally would like to see it stay how it is, but I don't think that the laws allow that to be that way. So this individual has every right to go ahead and sell it. And I think, well, for me as a commissioner, I have to just allow that to happen and let the city council decide what they want to do with it. But I wish it would stay how it is personally. But I also understand, I think it's my 4th year on the commission. Landowners have the right to sell their land, and if they want to open this up to sell it, at least we can have a chance to see what they're going to try to turn it into, or what they're going to propose, and have some say in that. But at this point, I don't see myself voting against it, even though I'd like to keep it how it is.
So the property owner or the developer, neither one of them are in the building? Okay. The engineer is.
Please state your name for the record.
Mark Rains, High Point Engineering, representative of Jay Keltner.
So, and I don't know if you're at liberty to even answer this question or not.
I'll tell you what I know.
Okay. What do you know?
That he wants to sell it.
But that's you're the representative for the owner currently, correct?
I know the history of this subdivision and Westgate Hills above it. I was an engineer on both of them.
Uh-huh.
As Eagle Summit Estates was a very difficult subdivision. There was a lot of hurdles that we had to go through to get it done. It was a very expensive subdivision.
Right.
He's trying to recuperate some of the cost of the subdivision by doing this. And he was approached by an individual. I guess he's got a backup offer to purchase this. As part of that, the potential buyer didn't want it in the subdivision. So.
And we're assuming that the potential buyer then is actually going to buy the parcel below to Kimball's parcel.
That's my understanding.
He'd have to,
Yeah.
because otherwise he has no access to it.
Yeah, it's the wine guy, as much as I know.
Is that where Kimball Gardner's main business is there on that other piece?
Kimball developed
One of 'em?
Canyon Cove years ago. And then has those caves where he's had storage units, and then Kimball's in about 15 different things.
He sells containers out of the industrial park
Yeah.
down by our city yard.
But he's trying to
off in there,
liquidate
but
everything.
He's trying to,
Okay, I would
Retire.
not want to see Kimball Gardner buy this lot and turn it more into what is south of it already, period. Like that.
I wouldn't worry about that because Kimball's liquidating stuff. He's
It's
at the
not-
age
it's
where
not
he's trying to
zoned
get
for
rid
that.
of
remember
stuff.
he's
It
the one who
still
sold
has-
his home at
Even if it
Washington.
would become
and-
into, try to be zoned for that, if he was going to be the buyer. Is that, yeah, I would, no. I'll leave it at that. I would not want to see that. If somebody bought both pieces together and did something that was
Cleaned it up.
and cleaned it up and it was nice, I could understand that. And I think that's best case scenario, what I'm hoping for in this process. And knowing that we would have a hand in that, seeing that before it goes to city council.
Yeah, any development, any proposed development would have to come back before the city. Of structures, et cetera, that would be that in that form. If it stays in an open, like I say, walking path, it wouldn't, because that's left in open, that's an open space thing. But any kind of other development or use, business, things like that would definitely have to come back. General plan amendment and zone change.
So Drew, are we voting to take it out of open space or out
Go and
of-
take it out of the subdivision.
out of the
Yeah,
subdivision?
it's not a zone change, it's just they want to just take it out of Eagle Summit.
Oh,
That's what you're
They still
voting
have-
on
they
tonight.
still-
Yeah, I wanted to bring that back. I'm glad you
Okay.
asked that because sometimes we get
yeah, we're
out
too
to the
we're
right
too
and left
far
too
out there.
far.
We're too
Yeah.
far out in the weeds. I mean,
The question tonight is they're asking to take it out of Eagle Summit as, a piece.
and it's still going to be open space until they rezone
It's still
it.
zoned open space.
So
We don't
we're not
change that.
vacating the zoning. We're just taking it out of the subdivision tonight.
It won't be
I
part
think
of
the
Eagle Summit. It'll
confusing-
just be a
I think
standalone.
the confusing part was the other little piece that was attached that did go from open space and give back to the.
Right, and they're just getting rid
That's
of
why I
that
was
because in the
confused.
beginning, the city, our public works thought that was going to be necessary, that thin piece up there for drain, et cetera. And then after engineering took place and development happened, it wasn't needed. And so they're just saying, well, if we don't need that, why leave it? We can get it back to those three property owners.
The city
they'll
actually
just
requested us
pick
to
up,
put it
yeah.
on the.
We
That's-
requested it.
That was what had me confused for the most part, is I thought we were trying to take this out of open space, but we're just allowing it to come out of the subdivision. Vacated basically that lot out of the subdivision that's landlocked. So he might be able to find another access into it. So that's what I see we're voting on, and I think that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mark, thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to approve the amended final plat for Eagle Summit Estates, amended subdivision located at approximately Angels Landing Drive and 170 North, with the 2 findings and 5 conditions, and send it to City Council for consideration.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson. I've got a second by Commissioner Bullock. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Shield,
Aye.
Bullock,
Aye.
Musso.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes. We'll send that to City Council with a recommendation for approval on item number 6A. Drew, for those here in the audience could you let them know what the next step in the process is for this? If they want
Ellen,
to
that
follow
goes
this?
on your schedule for next week with City Council. So you can come, the decision will be made by City Council a week from today. So it'll go before them.
At City Council, is there a public hearing as well, or no?
I think that it is on a plat amendment. We do them both
Okay.
in there, so.
Well, then the future process is that when this is determined to have something, they want to do something with it, they'll have to have go through this procedure again to change it from open space to whatever they ask for. So you'll
If-
still have the opportunity,
Unless what they want to do on it fits in the open space zoning.
which is very little. Yeah.
Right. And again, it would only be like what I explained. It may be a walking path.
Go grapes.
That could stay in open space and not have to be rezoned. But it's very limited. Open space can't do, again, only buildings in there have to be like for animal, structures or public utility buildings. That's really.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 7A. This is also a zone change, or this is a zone change. It's a public hearing as well for consideration and recommendation to the city council. A zone change request Z-21-27 for a planned unit development design use located approximately 1400 north and 300 east. The applicant is Keith Grundman. I'll turn the time over to staff.
Thank you, Commissioners. As stated, the applicant's requesting approval of the design use of this currently zoned PUD-C property, which is approximately 0.38 acres in size. The name of this particular project will be the Flavors Coffee and Smoothies business. The property was granted the PUD-C zoning at an earlier date by the City Council, with the applicant knowing they would have to come back to the city for specific design and use approval. The applicant is now wishing to have that proposal reviewed by you and the City Council. The PUD Commercial requires an approved site design before property can be used. The application is proposing to build 2 small drive-through buildings, both of which would have a small outdoor seating area for customers to use if preferred. Staff has minor concerns with the proposed use and location of the project, mostly due to the drive-through heavy design of the project and its location to such a busy intersection. The applicant has designed the drive-through with thoughts to account for a large number of vehicles, and that would be 25 to 26 in a stacking thing, which is kind of a good number. That's what we gave them back when they got their PUD zoning, which helps the concerns of staff. Access into and out of the development will be very limited due to the small footprint of the parcel itself. The access off of Telegraph will be limited to a single car ride-in only approach. And that's the one you see down here on this arrow, and that's Telegraph down here. I'll try to scroll up. So the one I'm talking about is right here, with I'm going to circle around. So that'll be 1 lane in, ride-in only, no exiting out of that one. The entrance exit off of and onto 300 East is also a challenge. It has been pushed as far north on the property as it can be. And again, this is the arrow in and out up here that I've got my cursor kind of dancing around on. So that one will be, again, limited to ride in and ride out only because of its proximity to the intersection and the light there. So there has also been provided 7 parking stalls within the project, of which most of them will be used probably by employees and a few customers, depending on how many employees they have. Staff is hoping that the drive aisle running parallel to Telegraph, especially the drive aisle showing the ghost cars, this particular area here, staff would like to see actually that bumped out. They do have a little bit of room because it's only required a 10-foot landscape strip on the street frontage. Now, there is a bit of an elevation change, but staff just feels when the last thing I want to do is have someone in parking stall 2 that just got their smoothie and cars are backed up and people are being people and not really letting them go. But if they could design the drive aisle to be here on the south part of it, at least it allows people to back out and still stay here and stay on the right side and come up and then get out. So that's just my concern with the design. My only real major concern is that, and I don't think that's a big issue to be accomplished there. Staff is hoping again that can be expanded. With that said, staff still feels comfortable with the proposal with those minor, just again, upgrades to it. Would therefore like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Z-21-27 for the specific site design use of the already zoned PUD commercial property onto the City Council. And if the Commission wishes to move forward with this item, I did give some findings and conditions for this particular development. And they're pretty standard for, say, a commercial development within the city. So I will be glad to answer questions, but I think before you may answer, let's just kind of scroll through and let those that are here kind of see elevations and proposals. They've done a bit of getting some of that to you, so we might as well scroll through and see them again. The seating area at the buildings, just to allow a few outdoor, if you want to stop there after being at the Little League Park, and you could sit outside and enjoy a smoothie or a drink in the building, in those, and there'll be those crosswalk areas that you saw in the design. Again, they're two very narrow buildings, but it's kind of like you see a lot of these around town right now. It's like, I think the Deseret News or KSL News had a big report on, you're starting to see drink shops on every corner in the state of Utah. It is the thing now. That's very, very popular. And I don't know, does anybody here not use a drink place like a Fizz or a Swig or something? No, I knew you would all either raise your hand you do or keep them down that you don't.
What if our wives do?
Or somebody really close to you that does, but yeah. So just to lay out again, the buildings are not very wide, very long, very tall, but they're enough just to house for the product and the employees, which is good. It's not a lot of wasted space. Again, these are popular because people like to use the drive-through aspect. Come get it and get on your way. Again, so these are just kind of your elevations, non-colored, and then layouts of the buildings that we're not concerned with at this time. So, and this is just a little bit of flow on those things. So landscaping proposed, again, I always put that I'm fine with their proposed landscaping, but I'd like to see always my conditions are that they bring whatever, company they're going to use to do it. I want them to bring in and show me what plan they're basing, the project on. So I really appreciate all that they've added here. There will be a block wall on one of the plans that's going to be here between this home that's right next where my cursor is. This particular, the other one already has, if you've been to the property, there's a retaining wall and then a 6-foot privacy wall on top of that. So it's a good 14 to 16 feet up. So headlights, that's why we require block walls, is because of headlights, etc. To the north, I'm not worried about headlights. But to the east, their plan does show that it will be a block type of pre-built casted wall that will have to be a minimum of 6 feet on that east boundary. So that's kind of the project that you see there. I can't remember if these they were just, this kind of gives you colors that they're going to go with is the Navajo beige on the stucco on most of it, and then there will be a bit of that stonework that you saw. There's the stonework that they'll use. This particular one with that beige stucco will be the main colors.
So Drew, on the sorry, Kathy, this is Commissioner Bullock. The ghost cars right there on the inside, that's all one elevation right there, all the way to that's a 24-foot driveway is what it says.
Yeah, right here. But even at that, our standard for a backup out of a driveway is 25 feet. So if I put even a car at, there's 6 to 8 feet, that encroaches on my standard backup area of 25 feet. So that's why I just wanted to, if I could pick up 4 or 5 feet, it would help. Does somebody need the full 25 feet? Well, there's a few people, me every now and then, depends on what vehicle I'm driving. But I just wanted to make it, as smooth as possible for people coming in, ordering, but people to get out.
Is there enough room to move it closer to Telegraph Street and not interfere with everything?
I think there is, because you can see it. There's a length of a car right there. That's 20 feet. So again, that ghost car right there. I'm not even saying we need 10, but I would sure like a good 6 to 8 feet, probably more, down here on the south on that, and then designate that this is the drive-through lane down here. Have it labeled as such, striped wording on it, and then that allows people to come in and pull out and leave, coming this direction if you follow my cursor right there. And it'll just make it that much better for, I think, everybody involved with it. Because again, I've been stuck in a thing like this. If you've been, the Taco Bell down here it's a St. George business, so I can talk about it. But during the COVID, their drive-through runs right through their thing, and there's times that it's just backed up, and some people don't even know that, or to even be looking at you've got your food, you went in and ate there, or the few times you could, and then you're trying to get out. And there's times I've sat there for 5 minutes trying to get out of that Taco Bell parking lot, just because and that's what made me think about this, was thinking, well, I've been stuck behind that. I don't want to create that. If we can kind of help alleviate that, which we can at this point.
So how would that affect? And I completely agree with you. I think you could probably pull it down towards Telegraph quite a bit, but you have a retention pond landscaping in there. So how would that affect the retention pond?
We'll have to see what the engineer designs, but sometimes with those, if you have to do that, you just go down a little deeper.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You can. Because I don't mind suppressed landscape, that's the way you can kind of help get your landscaping, but also get your detention. And you cover both things with that. So
now you said it had to be 10 feet off the property line, or is it 10 feet off of the sidewalk?
It's a 10-foot landscape strip. Now, I've been generous with folks because the code just says 10-foot landscape strip. Now, if you know our streets, and some of you do know that we have our right-of-way standard,
right?
But usually at the back of the sidewalk, we still own 1 to 2 feet as part of the public right-of-way. There is times I let them use that because I want it landscaped, and so they could say, well, that's your property. I'm not landscaping that for you. So I've kind of, basically had this deal that I'll give them that 2 feet to use as part of their 10 feet because I'm getting it landscaped. I'm still meeting my intent of hitting 10 feet. It doesn't say 10 feet on their property. It says the code, the way it reads it, 10-foot landscape strip. So I'll give them the 8 off of theirs and the 2 of ours, and they landscape the whole thing and maintain it. Does that help answer that kind of? So
like I said, I think that's a good
there's that
idea.
also right here, even with where the property lines are, there may be more on that street, but I'm just saying we want a minimum of 10-foot landscape strip. So I still think we can get some feet, and I'll work with the engineer on this, if this goes forward, makes it, because we'll discuss that, and he might even have something ready for city council next, in 3 weeks from now anyway. But that's really my only concern with this particular project. I appreciate what they've kind of done here, getting the 25 vehicles on there. That's pretty good.
It's unique. That's from the concept standpoint, it's really pretty cool.
Yeah, they put 2 buildings. I love that. I
Somebody's
appreciate them thinking out of the box, putting 2 smaller buildings
For sure.
together, and it picks up 2 drive-through distinct ones.
Does
that you can use.
tree have to stay, or can that come out?
The one that's there,
I hate to
it
ask that,
probably will
but-
have to come out, I would
Well,
think, but
I
let's,
just know the attitude of Washington County, that they don't like to see trees leave.
well,
That's-
this
that's
city is a
Gil.
tree
That's 'cause
city,
he's a-
so, yeah.
They can find another one somewhere else.
Yeah. So now the other question I had then too is it says 12-foot container buildings. Are these container buildings, or are they
No,
stick-built buildings?
well, I don't care, if they want to propose a container building that they can meet the code, I don't know if I can really
12-foot wide
stop that.
container buildings?
What's that?
Do they make 12-foot wide containers?
I don't.
Do they? I didn't
I
think
don't
so.
think so,
they're-
but it's not that they were proposed, yeah, and they may blend 2 together, but that would be more expensive, I think, to try to do that and just stick build it. Because the first proposal was to do those upgrade, everybody's kind of seen those, people will take them, they get real creative with them, but we told them that's not going to fly with the city council, you're going to have to come back. So these buildings, as long as they have the stucco finish and the stone on it and look like they do, and they meet the building code, we're kind of tied in that realm, but they're going to look like what you see here. They have to make them look like what you see here.
Okay. Is the engineer here?
Or a representative. Are you the
Representative?
engineer or the
Yeah.
owner?
Okay. Because I had a couple
He's
other.
got the shirt.
Yeah, I got
We should have known, right?
safe right now. Yeah, I'm
Please
safe.
state your name for the
Could
record.
have been a Christmas
Who's,
grid.
Dave Johnson. I'm
Okay.
the engineer and surveyor of record.
Okay. Like I said, when I first looked at this, I thought this is finally somebody's thinking out of the box
Yeah,
and giving
so
us an idea.
we
we've done a little bit of like some preliminary engineering with the, and we want to do underground a chamber system so that we can retain the water underneath the parking lot. That detention basin does help us convey water from the east side of the property over and under the parking lot. So we were under the impression that we needed 10 feet from our property line as landscaping, but if you're willing to work with us, we would love to have more room to push those cars back and get them out of the way of the cars backing in and pulling into those drive aisles, or out of the drive aisles and into the parking stalls.
So, go ahead, Corey.
That's a lot better.
So the other question I had then, so it shows here the order board and then the order window. So are you gonna, I mean, are they gonna order at the placards out there?
It's a typo. It should have been a pickup window. There'd be order boards and then pickup windows.
So
at
they're
the
gonna
building.
have, okay, so that's an order board and then,
That I'm kind of,
Yeah, that's the order board right there.
okay. And the only reason I ask that is because it seems like that gives you more time for the person inside to make whatever they're making. Is it gonna be both coffee shop and beverages, or is it just beverages?
Coffee shop and beverages.
Okay,
out of both of them, or is
Yeah.
one going to be specific and the other
I
one?
think we're doing just, both are
Both of
gonna
each,
provide.
which makes sense. And the last question I had is I know what, I don't know exactly, but I have a feeling that what Mayor Staley is looking for type of thing is to enhance the downtown area. Is there any way that we could tie the buildings together, even with the facade on the top, so that it looks like it's a little bit more substantial of a building as opposed to two little bitty skinny buildings? And that's really being picky, and I apologize, but I just
Yeah,
kind of
so
think I know what's
I'm
going to
not
happen.
the architect on the building,
Okay.
but we can run some ideas off of the architect and see if like some
Did-
sort of breezeway.
But like
or-
faux beams,
Did
are
you
you talking
faux-
maybe?
Yeah,
Commissioner,
I don't know.
mean,
I mean, just something so it looks like the
lattice
building's a little
type.
bit more substantial as opposed to something even, or even if it's a pergolas that go off the back that cover the seating areas, something, just to make it so it looks a little bit more substantial as opposed to just, I mean, they kind of look like, I hate to say this, mobile homes. You're sticking two mobs there side by side, which we don't want to look at, but, and I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas, folks. I'm not being critical, because like I said, I love what you've done. I think it's a great idea of how you did it. So those are my only comments.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I have a question. I know you said you're not the architect, but maybe you can answer
Sure.
some questions. So because the main thing we're looking at, we're improving are these, elevations and colors and so forth. So the pictures we have in the rendering, they show horizontal, wood with some stucco on the columns, a little bit of stone on the, the bottom, and then some quartz, or porcelain tile or some sort of finish on the ends here. But the colors that were shown in the sample board are totally different. They're, a Navajo beige, and I'm assuming that's hardy plank, I would maybe guess. And then some stone. So how do those two tie together? I guess that's.
Well, it's almost impossible to get.
You want to talk? Yeah, you. Perfect. I guess my question is, does the building look like the rendering or not?
It's almost impossible to get something from hardy plank that shows the exact color. So it is going to be the hardy plank material.
Okay, so yeah, and that's fine. I get the color. It's so the horizontal slat shown right there, that's the hardy plank, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then the side columns. So this is your stucco here.
Yep.
Okay,
And
that's your stone.
they're supposed to be dark. Well, it didn't come out as dark when they printed it as what,
But that's your stone. Right?
yes.
Okay. And these accents are the same, kind of like that, with the darker bands and so forth.
Yep.
And then what about this? The way the rendering is, this is porcelain or quartz type material. Is that there, or was that just stucco, or what?
That was actually just stucco. We could make it whatever color you
Part
might
of it
like.
is the shading. I guarantee you the architect wanted to make, because the sun, he's being very articulate,
No, I
which he
know,
didn't
I-
need to, but I see what he was doing. He kind of shake, it's a shadow.
I guess I just add, I know that materials, I put it in lots of houses, so I know the exact material that it is, so. It's pretty expensive, that's why I was asking, so.
Just for the record, are you Keith?
Nope.
Nope. What's your name for the record?
Lindsay Coleman.
Lindsay Coleman. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
One of the questions I had was, is there anything that prevents somebody from trying to exit Telegraph? I know there's an arrow on the ground probably that's the entrance. Is there anything that prevents people from trying to exit there?
Other than you standing there 24/7, probably not. But I mean, if there was nobody there and somebody was going to do it, there's not, I mean, could you require to maybe put in the tire things? I don't know if we want to go that far, but
No,
that
not
could
necessarily.
would be the only thing I would say that would probably do that. But we don't have, I just hate to do that, because if anything happens and someone has to back up, well, they could end up
That is
punching
a,
the tires. But
if somebody did, that is a violation. They could be
if
pulled over.
if
for.
an officer saw it, they would be cited.
Okay.
Maybe if there's a sign put there that says not an exit.
No left, no right turn. Yeah, no exit is what it is.
Yeah, no exit.
We
I look
probably
at-
would require one of those.
When I look at this, I think of how could this go wrong, right? And I think, okay, I'm willing to bet anything. We'll have people trying to leave there.
We'll have John
some point
stationed
in
there
time.
in his off-duty hours, right? After hours.
I was just curious, what do we, if there's anything.
Every hour or something.
There you go. I was just curious if there's anything that can be done, because we haven't addressed the exit at the top yet. And worst case scenario, if that gets backed up, I could see people just coming around like we were talking and trying to go out the other way. And you might have somebody coming on, somebody going on at the same time. Anyway, worst case scenario.
So from an engineering standpoint, we are a little limited where our property lines begin and end. We can't really design, but we can maybe design the entryway a little bit to direct people and make it kind of
Yeah.
awkward for them to come back out the wrong way.
Yeah.
But we are limited on that property
Bow it
line.
a little bit like so.
Yeah, bow it a little bit and angle it.
Yes, and yeah.
Part of our intention when we get to that final design is to more or less make those radii that flow back and stuff. So make it all not impossible, but nearly impossible
Yeah.
to make that turn without popping the full curve.
Awesome. I figured you thought of that.
And
It's
I would
obvious.
say, again, this is just, rendering, but I would assume on the final product, you'd want these cars here, actually down here, with your directional going this way, and then this is your road out.
Yeah, and we could even put a stop sign, just so that there's a clear path for people to maybe turn left and get into the parking stalls. We could put a stop sign right there by your cursor, and a stop bar and a stop sign there, just to keep that path clear, and then maybe even hatch it out and keep clear on it, kind of like a fire lane.
Is there a reason why it has to be two buildings instead of having one larger building with two drive-throughs on each side of the building?
Other than it just gives us two queues that we
Okay.
can, McDonald's does have a kind of a thing where they can do two queues at the same time and then they blend together.
No, what I mean is like you would have a building in the middle and you have a drive-through that goes on one end of the building and then another drive-through on the other side of the building. So you would be able to operate in a centralized building and have a drive-through on each side of the building.
I've thought of that until most people, I mean, if you ever drive down the freeway and there's nobody in the HOV lane, it's because there's only one person in a car most of the time. So if you put the order side on the passenger side, it
doesn't
makes
work.
it very difficult.
Yeah.
So we've thought about it. We could have people coming in the other way, but now you got people crossing back and forth. So that's one of the reasons why we do have the two buildings, is so that the one person in the car can order and pick up their stuff.
The only downside to this is that you have to have 4 people working at all times.
More employees.
You have to have more employees, but that's not a bad thing, It gives some kids a job.
More bathrooms, more facilities, more
Well, the
everything.
facility, they only have one. They
Double.
only have one facility in building, as far as the bathroom is concerned, because that's in the north building, if I remember seeing the plan.
There's not one in the other one?
No, it looks like there's coolers and stuff in the second building.
Dave, would you hang around for a second? We're going to open this up to a public hearing. There might be some people that have questions that you might be able to help us with. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to open this up to a public hearing. If anybody in the chamber would like to speak on this item, please come forward and state your name.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Camry Miller. I am a resident and owner in the Sunview Townhomes, which is just directly north of this property. I'm excited to have something happen with it because it's ugly and it's right on Telegraph. I share a backyard with it, like I said, and so my one concern that hasn't been discussed yet, just because it's not necessarily part of the property, is that my entrance and exit from my townhome is right above and it exits right on 300 East. Now, the problem I see with that is that I already have a hard enough time coming in and out of that. By putting this shop here, which I love, my concern is safety and the amount of traffic that it's going to bring into that street. If I were to be leaving this soda shop, I would be wanting to turn left and going back out on Telegraph, not necessarily up into the community. That's going to cause a lot of traffic right there, and most times when I leave my home, I'm turning left. And so that's just something that I want you to think about and maybe think of ideas for how to help that. I do have a proposal that could help, at least for the people that live in the Sunview Townhomes with me. Just directly up the street, just a little bit north, there are cars that park right there. Where the townhomes are, number 1, 2, and 3, that is a no parking zone. And it's really nice to have that because I can see if traffic is coming to my left. But as you can see, there's a car parked right there and they park all the way down as far as they can. It is almost impossible for me to see cars coming from my right unless I am pulled out almost into the road. So what I propose would be to extend the no parking at least halfway up that block. At least that would make it more safe for the people living where I live. I think that it would be an easy fix. This is the first town council meeting that I've ever been to, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. Other than that, I think it's a lovely idea.
Question for you. So you're talking, so this right here is where people park?
Yes, they park all the way right there.
And who are the people that are parking there?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
So
Residents within her development.
I was going to say they're probably residents of your development.
There are 2 parking spots
Per
for
unit.
every resident in my development. And so most people park within their spots. The people who park right there, I'm not sure who they are. To be honest, I think they are people who live in homes a little further north, or perhaps to the home just directly to the west of that, or people who are parking, to reach Domino's and don't want to get into that parking lot. I don't know who they are, but it's different cars all the time. It's not set cars. I can tell you that.
And they might be visitors that visit residents. It's going to be a multiple of people. But
There is a parking lot right there that you can see in the Domino's parking lot, and it doesn't say that you can't park there. And so when people visit me, they park there, or they park further up the street if they come visit me. I don't think that there is a need for those 2 or 3 parking stalls to be there, especially because we also put our garbage cans out there, and when the garbage cans are there, no one can park there. And it seems to do fine. So if that was just designated, I think it would work really well, but that's just all that I wanted to bring up there.
Camber, will you tell us what it's like for you as a resident day to day when you're trying to come out of your complex and turn left?
And turn left?
What's it like?
Depends on the time of day, right?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Anything you want to say, I'm interested in hearing. Pretty good, because we're going to run into the same problem, as you know, like you pointed
Yeah.
out. So I want to hear, you even live further up the road, and I want to know how often traffic backs up to where it's hard for you to turn left because there's cars that are stacked up that far.
I feel safer further up the road, but if I was any closer, it's scary. I'd be scared, very scared, especially turning left. I almost got in an accident today because people shoot gaps. Who doesn't shoot a gap, right?
Drew doesn't.
I don't.
He doesn't.
Oh.
I'm too afraid
You are a rare breed.
Okay, so I probably do, but I don't know what the definition of shooting a gap is.
Then you do it. If
I probably, I'd say I probably do it, but I don't know.
Drives an M3, definitely does it.
So is that, you mean, so running, what do you mean?
Okay. So if I'm pulling out and I'm going to turn left, like I'm
Right.
going towards the stoplight,
Right.
there's cars parked like where this is. So in order for me to see past them to see if I'm safe to come out, I have to come out almost to about where
Right.
the car's parked,
Right.
which means I am partially blocking this street, which means I'm going to block cars that are coming out of the soda shop,
Right.
potentially, because it's almost impossible for them to turn left.
No,
and
I
get to that
completely,
side.
I completely concur with what you just said. I
Okay.
mean, I would like to see that
So
happen.
to shoot the gap
Yeah.
means that if I pull out far enough and in order for me to not cause a traffic jam, if I see any space, I'm going to shoot the gap and go as fast as I
Okay.
can
Well,
and
hell
pray
yes,
I don't
everybody
get
does
T-boned.
that.
So it's just going to increase levels there,
Okay.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just didn't understand the verbiage. Yeah, for sure you have to. I know, Maverick. Okay.
But in all seriousness, though, is it an issue for you coming out of your complex and turning left regularly?
It's an issue as of right now, and that's the only issue I see. And it's going to get more dangerous. And so I have, as long as I've lived there and I moved in July, I haven't had an accident there that I've seen. Thankfully, it could change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to make any comment? All right, for the public comment section, I'll look for a motion to close it at this time.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I've got a first by Commissioner Bullock, second by Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment section is closed. Thank you all for your comments. I'll open it back up. Commissioners, for your questions for staff. or-
Commissioner Anderson, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I've never put you on the hot seat before.
I know. Why now?
I know.
Now it's every meeting, I promise.
Would it be advantageous to make this a write-in, write-out?
It is. That's what we're
Well,
planning.
no, I know, but I guess what I'm getting at, well, I guess it is right in here, yeah. So I guess we're not doing any left-ins, are we? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have the distance to meet for full movement, so we're just.
That
doing
will
right
help
now.
with what she's talking about, that you're not having people, well, they're still coming, well, the right out, they're gonna go up past the townhomes, they're not gonna come left.
Yeah.
there.
We do have a big power pole there that's gonna be moved.
Will it have one of those bumper things on the ground that forces you to go right where you can't go
Well,
left?
Yeah, that's our plan, to have the little pork chop island in
Yeah.
there to help force.
I misunderstood. I thought people are still going to try to turn left at the north
They
one.
may
but-
try, but it'll be an illegal term.
I get, okay, so my next question, again, it doesn't really pertain to their project, but she brought up a couple really good points is, and I know that's not like designated parking along the road, it's just the side of a road that's not, marked as no
road,
parking.
it's- we
Is
don't
that
have a-
something that we would want to look at? Maybe putting some no parking signs there to help with that?
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile taking a look at.
Yeah, I think we should. That
Definitely
community should probably be right in.
Yep,
right out as
because-
well.
Four-lane road anyway in the future.
Eventually, yeah, it's
Yeah.
slated to be striped for that, but it's definitely something we could look at and start the process.
Because this is actually going to exacerbate the problem that she's just described to us, because you're going to have more.
Yeah.
My mic off. Thank you very much. So anyway, but yeah, this is going to add to her issue.
Yep, additional
But
development.
as you can see, I wanted to bring this up. That pink dotted line is the master transportation. It's an 85-foot. 85-footers are 4 lanes. So you'll end up eventually with 2 and 2.
Oh, wow.
So at some point, I mean,
Which
is
will be
it,
helpful.
would it be, and maybe we can't at this juncture, I don't know, but it seems like it'd be a lot safer to put a right out, right in, right out on the townhome community, especially if it becomes a 4-lane highway, but I
How
don't
is
know
that
if it's
going to
something you can do after the fact or not, but
It's all built out. How are you going to make that into
That's
an
what I'm
85-foot
saying.
road? Well, no. So I mean, are you
In
going
all
to
reality, if that's your case, is cities will put medians in.
right? But isn't
to
it all
do
built
that.
out? That whole section's already built out.
Yeah, it's all
correct?
built out up above this.
you just take the temporary parking spots and make them into a street instead.
It
That's
just
a
gets
lane.
restriped for it
Okay.
as a
It
travel
just gets
lane.
restriped, is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Okay.
Then there will be no parking on the side.
So I don't, so again, it has nothing to do with their drink shop, but my recommendation to Public Works is that we look into putting some no parking signs on there.
Yep, we can definitely do that. I'll take that
Well,
forward.
the city council, I think you'll look into it, just to
Sure.
let you know, city council's the one who can really approve for no parking on a public street, so.
Well, but we appreciate her comment because
Oh, yeah.
that's something we wouldn't have thought about, that far up, in all honesty.
Is there a process that we can refer the public to, that they can go in and do something online to request things like this?
Just give them John's cell phone.
It rings enough now, and I don't give it out.
Well, you guys, at this point, if you guys feel that important about it, I would just recommend that you would, as part of a motion, if you're going to make a motion, make it as a condition or a recommendation that the council consider doing that. Either on, yeah, I mean, you can do it. It doesn't mean, now again, they can say, well, yeah, we appreciate that, but, and they might have other outlined the reasons why not to or whatever, but that's still, that's what I would recommend to you to, either recommend it as an extra condition or just as part of a motion to accept these, but we'd like to also recommend the council consider at the end of that, your motion, just saying that no parking be added as far up the street, possible on the north side of this townhome project.
And that
So,
goes up to what, 100 north?
100 north.
Okay.
Which is
Or
called
no, it's actually
Village Way.
Village Way.
Yeah, actually, because 100 North's a little staggered, so it's Village Way.
And yes, you can go onto the website and submit comments and items to the city through the website.
I kind of second some of the things that you guys have said. I'm looking forward to this. I really hope it works. It's going to be much better than what was there and what is there. It's just a tough lot. So I wish you all the best of luck. I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully the council will see it the same way. Yeah. At this time, if there are no other questions, commissioners, I'll look for a motion on this item.
Commissioner Anderson will make a motion to approve Z-21-27, a request to approve the design and use of a currently PUDC zone property of approximately 0.38 acres located at the northeast corner of Telegraph Road and 300 East, with the 2 findings and 11 conditions, and send it to City Council for consideration, and also make an additional recommendation that City Council look into extending adding no parking to 300 East, north of the townhome community, which is north of the Village Way, which is north of the drink shop.
You want to recommend the parking line be dropped and expanded?
Yes. Also, sorry, Kathy, add a 12th condition to the motion, that we add extra space to the parking and the what do we call it, the drive lanes. I would say as much as possible towards Telegraph to decrease congestion.
Yeah, and change the route.
They'll do that later.
Okay, yeah.
Did that work, Kathy? Maybe.
We lost.
Yes, I've got it.
Thank you.
Turn your mute on.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson. I have a second by Commissioner Bullock. We'll go individual voting. Anderson?
Aye.
Shield?
Aye.
Bullock?
Aye.
Musso?
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes. Item 7A. Appreciate all your comments this evening, folks. Thank you. Is there anything else, commissioners, that needs to be brought before the body at this time?
I'm not a commissioner, but if I can, everybody, we
What's
kind of
that?
talked about it, but our meetings will have been assigned to start at a new time, 6 o'clock, and we couldn't do it today because advertisements and everything went out. And maybe next time, it depends on if notices already went out, we'll have to keep it 5:30, but now, we'll either start on the 19th or that first Wednesday And the reason they're doing that is the city council is going to hold their work sessions on the first and third Wednesdays now. We give them a little more time in their work sessions, and it'll be right before our meeting, so we're being bumped back a half hour to start at 6. So hope everybody's okay with that.
So the meeting next 2 weeks, though, that one's already.
It might be. I don't know if we'll check and see how.
Because, well, that's going to have that corner piece on Sandia and 300 West.
Right, that's coming back to you.
Right, but that one's already been noticed, and you said you weren't going to renotice it.
That's right. And I mean, if we were going earlier, I'd worry about it. We'll talk about it.
The notices have already gone out with the 6 o'clock. And because we post it on the website and send the reports to that item that was tabled, they will be able to know that it is at 6 o'clock.
And see, again, if they do show up at 5:30, it's better that they're here earlier than going the other way around. Does that make sense? Then we'd have to wait.
Gives them a chance to get pissed off more.
They're already there.
All right. Also, commissioners, next Thursday, I believe it is What's Up Down South. And we sent an email about that. Looks like a lot of us are going to be able to attend that. So we'll see you there. And I don't have anything else. Anything else from here? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to close the meeting.
Commissioner Musso, I make a motion that we close this planning commission meeting.
Second.
Got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Again, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Have a good night. And staff, thank you.